And then going to share screen. Hold on, let me see which one should, okay, over here. It should be that one, yes. Okay, so today we will continue our discussion about file processing, okay. And for today's file processing, we will start with about why the mouse not working well. We will start with we call it web scraping. Okay, so you can scraping data from HTML file and XML file. Okay, so how do we do that? And so here, the first example is regarding HTML. Okay, read HTML, but it's not the complete HTML. Okay, so this specific method from pandas, read HTML, is to read table, okay, in HTML. So if your HTML has the table elements, and table element has table row, okay, and the table head, and the table data, table cell, is it? And so if your HTML file has the table elements, then if you do the read HTML, then it will get the table into data frame. Okay, so that it can kind of import the table and convert it to a data frame format. So here we have an example. So we read this HTML file, and I'm going to show you that HTML file. And that HTML file, we can see there is a table, okay? So we get that table, then we get that table, and we can see. So here you get the data frame. That is quite a large table from that HTML. And this, a lot of time when we want to retrieve data from internet, this may help us, is it? So here is this case. So let's take a look at that HTML file. Share screen. Okay. So that HTML file itself is a quite large HTML file, is it? But if you take a look, this is the result of the HTML. So on browser, so this part, if you take a look, it's a table. It's a table. So in the HTML, it has the table element, okay? And within the table element, it can find table row, table head, and the table data, etc. So the cell there, so all of this information. And then you see with pandas that read HTML, then you can collect this information and get it to a data set. Okay, then let's get back to our previous example, okay. So what over here it shows us is this read HTML, this function, okay, in pandas. And you plug in with an HTML file, okay, and you can get the specific table, is it, and get from the table you can get the data frame. And with data frame, then you can do a lot of things, is it? And you can just like you deal with the other data frame, you can get header information, is it? And in this example, let's take a look. Is it in this example, we also have some date, is it? Date related information, is it? And then it says, okay, you can also convert it, is that to call pandas to date time method, is it? And you specify that column, date related column, is it? And convert it to date time pandas data frame. And then you can, so over here, you want to collect like, do some value counts, is it? On each year, is it? How many items appeared in that specific year, and then it also gives you the result. Is it? So here it just shows once you read HTML file that you convert it to the data frame, then you can just use pandas procedures to do a lot of things. Okay, so this is regarding HTML, and what next one shows us is about XML. Okay, XML. And for the XML, and we have an XML file. So first, let's take a look at that XML file. Let me bring that XML file. Then you can take a look. This is yeah. So can you see the XML file? Right now, this is the XML file. And for the XML file, and we also have the tag, that is the tag, and over here like indicator, that, and you have description, that like here, description. That so each pair of the tags, that. So anyway, so this is HTML, that, and it's kind of define each individual element, that, and you want to, we kind of also want to import it to a data frame, that, because over the internet, a lot of information, data related information also stored in XML formatting. So if you can extract information from XML to data frame, then we can also use it to do further processing. So to do that, then we need to deal with those tags, etc. So anyway, so here just shows us the HTML, XML, that then you can kind of, you see, repeat with all of this. Is it like for over here, it shows the description again, that with another indicator, that. So it's different levels, is it? So that's the first indicator, that, and then you have the second indicator, third, and then within it, you also have like the parent sequence, agency number, indicator name, and the description, that category, frequency, a lot of information. So how do we get of them to the specified data frame? Okay, then let's go back to our Jupyter Notebook file. Okay, so we kind of have some idea about that XML file. Okay, XML file. And we can parse XML file. Here it says use LXML objective file. Okay, and then, so you import this objective file, and then you call its parse method. Okay, and then you specify the XML file, the path, is it? After that, and then you can get, you first call the root, is it? The root element. And then we can do further processing. So let's take a look. Okay, the further, so here we have a list, okay, an empty list. And here we have a list with 4 fields. Basically, though, if you recall, those are the tag, is it, from XML file. And then, and previously we get to the root level, is it? And from the root levels indicator, is it? And we are going to get each of the element and the corresponding value regarding that element, and then we are going to add it to a dictionary, okay, Python dictionary. So how do we get it? Then you can just call the getChild method. And for these 4 specific fields, we are going to skip them. We're not going to add them to our dictionary. And if it's not one of the listed field, then we are going to add it to the dictionary. And so we are going to keep appending it to our dictionary, okay? And after we have the dictionary, then with pandas data frame, so pandas data frame can also be made up from a dictionary. So here we build the pandas data frame, and we can take a look at the header part. So you can see it's very neat. That it get the XML file information, and from that you get a data frame. And with the data frame, then you can do quite a number of things, okay? And here it also shows another one. So here's just a purely string, is it? And with that objectify, and then you do parse, is it? And then you need to convert to string IO, and then call the get root, okay? And what is the root? Then in this case, it says this is the root, is it? And if you want to get some other related element, you can also specify, and then you can get the corresponding information. Because this is kind of like the key value part, is it? Okay, so this is regarding XML. Okay, we also know. And then let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next one shows us it's a new kind of file format, and we cannot see that, okay, the file. And it's called HDF5. Okay, HDF represent hierarchical data format. Okay, and HDF5 is that it's a file format intended for storing very large quantity of scientific array data. Okay, so it's quite helpful, okay. And it can be used to store multiple data sets. Because anyway, for data analysis, a lot of time it involves huge data, and it also supporting metadata. And this specific file format is that it also supports on-the-fly compression, okay, compression, and with a variety of compression modes, okay. And it's that enable data with repeated patterns to be stored more efficiently, okay. Because a lot of time you cannot load a huge, very data set into the memory, is it? Just in one time. There is no such way you can do it. So then in this case, with HDF5, this specific file format, then you can kind of read small section of the much larger data set. Just load small section of data into the memory and then do some processing, okay. And it says HDF5 store class is works like the dictionary, okay. So that's the general idea about HDF5, okay. And if you are interested, you can go to the internet to find some related information about HDF5, okay. And over here, we first create data frame with some random number, okay. So that's our data frame. The data frame column is A, okay. And we here can kind of see this data, the header part, okay, the first 5 record from the data frame. And then what next we try to do is we try to store this data frame to the HDF5 file formatting. So to do that, you can, so pandas have a method called HDF store method. And then you give the file name. Okay, give the file name. And then you assign the frame to some kind of specified properties, features. Here it's object 1, okay? And its column is going to be the specific column from your data set. Okay, so here you can kind of see, like here is HD, it works like the dictionary. That because it kind of store each. So this is one data frame, one data set, basically. Is it a data frame? It's a data set, and you kind of associate with this key. Is it kind of like this concept? So the key is object 1, okay. But anyway, in the HD F5 format, and then it knows the mapping, okay. And then you can also specify the specific column, is it to that object's specific feature. And so this is how we export a data frame to HDF file formatting. And then after that, then you can also retrieve it. Is it? And to retrieve it, that using the same dictionary-like approach. Is it? So you just mention that data frames. That data frame kind of stored like a key, is it, using this key. So you just mention this key, then you will get the data frame, okay. So it can be later retrieved, okay, with this formatting. And then next, let's see. And it says it's HDF store. It supports 2 storage schemas, fixed and table. Okay, as says table, generally speaking, is a little bit of slower. Okay, but the table supports query operation. Okay, so that's a lot of time, also quite useful. Okay, quite useful. And you can also call put, and put a lot of time. Get and put associated with dictionary operation. Is it? So here it says you can also use put to add the specific frame to the object. Is it? And it says it also allows us to set other options like storage format. Is it? Okay, so over here it says, okay, regarding the same data set, this time I want to store it as a table, as HDF5 table, and then I associate with a key, that with an object, we call it object 2. And then you can see over here it says with table format schema, then it supports query operation. Is it a query operation? So then you can query this object and then specify the filtering condition. Is it the filtering condition is okay, index greater and equal than 10, but less than equal than 15, is it? Then did you see you get all of the corresponding records. Okay, so here it just shows us more approaches that we can use. Okay, and here it said we can also use the read HDF and the to HDF to do read and write. Okay, and the read ones that give us a shortcut, including doing query. Okay, so here it shows again, and this time, okay, we write that object to this file as a formatting as a table. And then later on, you can also read that that object from that file. And here you can also do query. Is it? So just another approach, you can do the retrieving. And here it also gives us some more ideas. It says if you want to work large quantity of data locally, encourage us to explore Pi table. So Pi table is a approach, and the other one is that H5 Pi. Okay, so and for data analysis, like over here it says, data analysis it involves a lot of input and output bound operation. Okay, rather than CPU bound. CPU bound is processing, is calculating, etc. But for data analysis involves a lot of reading and writing also, etc. And HDF5. And with larger, you cannot just do one-time import of the data to the memory, etc. Then with HDF5, it can massively accelerate our applications. Okay. So just some advantages here it shows us. Okay, so this is the note 6 regarding regarding file processing. Next, let's see the 7th. Okay, the 7th shows us just the Excel. So here it just shows multiple ways. Okay. So over here it says the pandas also support reading tabular data in Excel. Okay, Excel. And pandas has a function called Excel, and then file formatting support the Excel X. Okay. So over here it shows us this example. So we have an Excel file. Okay, and we want to, you just call Excel file. And then you can read. And because Excel may involve multiple sheets, etc., and each sheet can correspond to a data frame. So here you can also specify the specific sheet in your Excel file, etc., and then you can get to the corresponding information, okay, as the data frame. And what next one try to show is you can also do the read Excel specify with the Excel file name and the specific sheet. And you can also write, okay, and write the information to Excel. So here to show you can also do Excel write. And then the specific data frame, then you call to Excel, okay, and write to the Excel sheet. And also, if you want to write, don't forget to save it. So this is regarding Excel, okay. And then the next one, let's see, number 8, note 8 about file processing. Okay, this is also quite useful. And over here is how we can directly interact with web API. Okay, because now a lot of the back end, so web backend, it's export data, in JSON format or other format like XML, So a lot of times it provides the JSON and then to the front end, so you can get the JSON and you can specify like access the specific web API, then you can get the data. So here's one way we can use is called requests package. So you import this requests package. Okay, and over here you specify the address, the URL address for the web API. Okay, and then you call the get method. Okay, after you call the get method, you get some object. Okay, and it says it's some response. is it respond? And then you call the JSON method. And JSON method is that it will return dictionary, is it containing JSON passed into native Python object. And here it shows, is it then you can specify the corresponding row and the corresponding column, is it, to retrieve the data. Previously, we also learned is it with the JSON file. So anyway, so here it just shows you get the API, is it, from the back end. And then you call the JSON, then you just convert JSON, is it, to Python object. Okay, Python object. And after that, then you can plug it in with pandas data frame, is it? So this is data frame. And here we have, and over here, it's not going to specify all of the columns. So just specific columns, is it? And then we will have the corresponding data frame. So here it shows the data frame. And we can also take a look at this web API, okay, what it gave us. Then maybe we can, we will have some idea. Let's see. Okay, so here, if you take a look, is it, so that is the web API. This is where the back end, is it, and it export the information, is it, and we can see it's JSON format, is it, so that's why then you call JSON, it can convert it to JSON, so have key and value part, is it, and with the key value part, then you can invoke pandas data frame, is it, and convert it to pandas data frame. And here, we are not going to take all of the columns, is it? So here you can also specify specific columns, like the issue or something, is it comments or label, repository, is it title, is it something like that. So anyway, so here it just shows us with web API, okay, web API, then you can also directly get information from web API. And that's the 8th one, okay. And here is the last one for the file processing, the last node. Okay, the last node, what it showed is to interact with database. So it's also possible, okay, you can also directly extract information from database. And here we just show some very simplified SQLite, okay, so you can use, and for other database, you need to check Python, the corresponding package, okay, what package you need to import so that it can handle the respective database, okay. So anyway, here is SQLite 3, okay. And over here, what we did is, so this is a string, but clearly you can see for this string, it create a table, is it a database table, and the database table, the corresponding column is property, is it, the feature is character or real or integer, is it, and if it's string, how many letters it's allowed, is it, so those information. So this is SQL, is it, to create table, is it, we know that. And here it says, okay, I'm going to store this in some SQLite database, is it? And then, so you have this database connected, and then you said, okay, for this database, I'm going to execute the respective SQL commands, is it? Okay, so that table is going to be created and stored in this database, okay? And you also need to call commit, is it? And so far, we haven't get data, pour data into the database, is it? So what this shows is a tuple, is it? A list of tuples, basically here. And then this statement is some SQL statement, is it? You're going to add information to the table, is it? To the table. Okay, so this is the data. So this data is for database, is it? For database, okay. And you can call insert statement, is it? To insert data into the table. So this is the database table, okay. And then with corresponding value. So that's what this SQL statement going to do, is it? Then you can execute not a single one, many, is it? Because I have 3 insert SQL statement needed to be executed. So then you can just do execute many and supply the statement and the data. Okay, then you also need to call commit. Okay, call commit. And then this database is established here, is it? And if you already have a database, then you can directly do query and updating, is it? Okay, so what next? Over here, I start my query, is it? So database query, is it? So select from the table. I'm going to select everything, is it? And it's going to be stored in some variable. And then you can call fetch all to get all of the table rows, records. So over here, it's the records, all records from database table. From the database table, is it? And you can kind of get some description, is it? And then you know, okay, the corresponding column, is it? So over here to give you the column. Okay, give the column. And then later on, you can then do some more things on it, is it? So over here, what we want to do is we want to have the database table be part of a pandas data frame, is it? So what you can do is, okay, then you specify from the rows, is it? And what's going to be the column? Okay, you can have the column from the database's description, this part, is it? We already specify. And then from the database table, is it? So from database table, then we get pandas data frame. Is it? We get the pandas. And with pandas data frame, then you can go ahead and do some more things, is it? Using pandas and including like plotting, is it? Okay, what next one shows us is over here says, it says SQL Alchemy. Okay, SQL Alchemy project, it says is a popular Python SQL toolkit. Okay, it says can abstract away many of the common things between the SQL database. Okay, and it says pandas has a read SQL function that will let us to read data easily. Okay, from the SQL Alchemy connection. Okay, so let's see this example. So over here, so we, from this package, we import SQL. Okay, and then from that we call it create engine. So you specify the SQLite file. So this is SQLite file, okay? The database file. And then you just call read SQL, okay? And then you can provide the query statement. So this is a query statement. And with this query statement, then it will automatically give us the data frame. So compare with the previous version, that there are a number of steps we need to do. With this SQL Alchemy project, it's a simplify of work to import from a SQL database to a data frame. Okay. Okay, so basically that's all of the information regarding file processing. Okay, so we are done with file processing, and so today's class is going to be a short one. Okay, and starting